you wonder, why are white liberals, why they are so down with the cause? You be like, what is the point? And the reason is power. They want power. You always say because what is the biggest minority group? It's black people. And when you find these whites, they live in the city, and they live near the poor blacks, or the uppity blacks too. And they always have like a black friend, and they don't have like an Ethiopian friend or a Nigerian friend or a Filipino friend. No, they have a black friend most of the time, and they pander and everything. And it's weird because they live in the city and they live near crime. When they get robbed, raped, or beaten up, they're the first ones to get beaten up. Conservatives, they usually live out in the middle of nowhere. When you find out where these conservatives are, they're usually way from the city, usually in the country, they're usually in the farm areas, or they're usually in small counties, way out counties. I live in Virginia, so they always live in Fairfax or something, Lynchburg or something. They always live way out, way far away from the city. So, and you say is there a difference between a conservative and a liberal? No. It's like conservatives and liberals both want power and both have power. So they're playing this game with blacks and they're playing this game with minorities, and then they keep thinking that they're on our side, but they're really not. The reason why liberals have black friends is because they need to learn about us. The reason why they go to Hamilton and all that stuff, they go to our restaurants, they fund our businesses, they try to talk like us, they speak up for us, they say the most condescending, most racial stuff sometimes, saying stuff like blacks don't have IDs or something, they can't get access to IDs, they don't have access to phones. Man, every black person got a phone. I seen people begging on the street, homeless people with phones. I'll guarantee you blacks can get some phones. DMVs are most blacks live in the city, so the DMV is up the street. So this thing about they can't get IDs, that's stupid. Alright, now blacks are kind of like their pets, and they have to know about their pets. So they need to align with them. They need to learn about them. They need to learn about their culture. They don't live they live near them, but usually when liberals come into the town, they usually what they call a gentrify it. I forgot what it's called. I think that's what it's called. They usually change the structure of the city. They bring in jobs, they bring in businesses, mostly cafes and expensive restaurants and stuff. The funny thing is, only black people you see in these expensive restaurants is black women. And a lot of black women know a lot of white people, and they're friends with these white liberals too. And they don't even know they're being used. A lot of black women in feminism don't even know why they're in it. They think they're getting something, they're getting power too. They're not getting anything. These white women have a whole lot of power, and they just use these black women. And it's and you always see white liberals sometimes with black men. And it's how do they do that? Well, they have a lot of black women friends. And if you know what you do is you align yourself with black women, you learn about black men through black women, and then that's how white women know how to get black men. So, and it's crazy, right? So They want power. Now, conservatives usually leave black people alone. They usually don't do anything to mess up the black community. It's usually what liberals what they do, because they align with blacks and say that they're anti-cop, but they are pro-cop. They're the first ones to call the cops. They align with blacks and talk about racism, but they are the most racist, and they create the most of the racism. So you say, well, the liberals have the creativity, and the conservatives have the money. They have the money and the power. The liberals have the creativity, but they don't have any money. Their daddies do. Their parents do. Their parents are the conservatives. The children are the liberals, and the parents are the conservatives. So the conservatives have all the money and the power. But the liberals, the kids, because they live in the city, because once they leave their conservative towns, they move to the city. So once they move into the city, they learn how the city works and how the city functions. They be around homeless people. They be around blacks. They be around other minorities. So they learn about them. So that's why they look at they actually, if it wasn't for whites, the hip hop industry wouldn't exist. The most of the people buying hip hop is white people. If it wasn't for white, hip hop industry wouldn't exist. Chief Keef and all these crazy people, all these negative rappers, they wouldn't exist if it wasn't for whites. Matter of fact, J. Cole, and Joey and all these people, even the conscious rappers wouldn't exist if it wasn't for whites. Like, let's go to like a Public Enemy concert like right now. Like they say, the latest one. You see none but white people. So, white people, they fund conscious rap and negative rap. I said, why do they do that? Because they have to learn about us. And every once in a while, these liberals do get raped. They do get assaulted and they do get killed by blacks. And you say, well, how come they're still down with the cause? They're down with the cause because they need power. They want power. They have to be around us. They have to learn about us so they can easily control us. So liberals have a lot of power. They have a lot of creativity. So that's why they can come into a town and just totally change it and just remove all the blacks. And I've seen it. Definitely in my city, like 10, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, the city was filled with black people. Filled with it was like no businesses, no nothing. I've seen streets that was like, it was just empty space. There was nothing there. And then now it's like stores everywhere. They can get rid of a mall. They got rid of a mall that was like a mall that had a whole lot of black violence going on, a lot of dysfunction. They removed that mall. They shut that mall down and replaced it with businesses. I mean, if you would have saw that street 10 years ago, 21 years ago, and you would have saw it now, it's like, whoa, how did this happen? So, the liberals have the creativity. They live around the people, so they know how to deal with them and know what they want and know how to keep them in line. But the conservatives have the money. So the conservatives and liberals are playing this game with us, thinking that they're different. They're not really that different. Two sides of the same coin. They both want power, and they both have power. And as long as you get the blacks, the minorities, to think they don't have power, you'll have all the power. So you get blacks to keep thinking that they're dealing with racism and slavery and history and Jim Crow and Trump. You get them worried about that stuff, they never gain power, and then the liberal and the conservative will always keep their power. And feminists will keep telling black women that they don't matter what they do, they're gonna have to worry about the white women are racist. And it's kind of funny how when you see the Black Lives Matter and all these groups, they have like their meetings, and when they talk about white supremacy, it's usually said by a white woman. Somehow, this white woman was allowed to say white supremacy without it pertaining to her. That's crazy. And the blacks cheer her on. But I guarantee if she does anything out of line, she'll call it, the black woman to call her whiteness in a second. So, the white women have to keep thinking that they're not white. And they gotta, what they had to do was, they had to associate white supremacy with white men. That way it would take all the attention off the white women. That way white women can keep their power and they would just focus on the white men. But they say the white man does not hurt them. Yeah. Sort of. As long as the white men have power, they don't really care what the blacks say. So as long as they can keep their power, they don't really care about the few blacks talking about some white supremacy. Because when you come on with this white supremacy stuff, all you're doing is just praising whites. You're saying that they're supreme. You say, well, no, we're just acknowledging that there's white supremacy. No, you're acknowledging that whites are supreme, or they think they're supreme. For you to even think they're supreme, they would have to be supreme. So, you believe that they're supreme. Just by saying it, just by acknowledging that they're supreme, there's just the supremacy, you're acknowledging that they are supreme, that they're better than you. Now, black women, they do join white women groups because they want power. And they sort of get it. Black women do have some good jobs. They do. Some got some crappy jobs. I know some got some crappy jobs. But most of them but they do have a lot of debt though. I mean, they got nice jobs, but they do have a lot of debt because they don't really own anything. So white women will give black women some kind of like fake power. They'll give them they'll give them a good job. Kind of funny too, like I was saying, like during like the 50s, when black women wanted a maid's job, it was given to them. The job was given to them by a white woman. So even though so-called white women didn't have any rights during the time, they had the power to give a black woman a job. And on the plantation, the white kids needed nannies, or they needed maids. Who do you think picked them? Who do you think hired them? The white women. They would hire the nannies because they had to pick a right one, and they had to hire the maids and the butlers and stuff like that. So this whole illusion of white women not having no power ain't real. White women always have power. When you go to these conferences and you go to these charity events and all this crap, what do you see up in there? Number white women and black women. Now the black women, they don't think they're being played because they have a good job and they're in the same room with these white women, so they can't be getting played, but they are. The white women will let you speak for a little bit. They'll let you think you got some power. They'll sit there too. They'll take it. They'll let you say all kinds of crazy racist stuff, but they ain't worried about it. Because when you leave this meeting, they'll still have more power than you. and used to have no power. Now, the blacks have a little power over the other blacks, but not that much. They're just there to keep them in line, keep them down with the cause. And it's like I said, liberals are easily harmed by blacks the most. Why would they be down with the cause so much? It's because they care about power. They'll do whatever they can to retain power. And groups do this all the time. They do this mental gymnastics thing with you. Because I didn't want to bring it back to this, but I did notice that atheists and they kind of do this thing with this mental gymnastics. They'll answer every question but the one you ask. So they get you distracted. They get you thinking. They get you focused on things that are not important. So when you come with, let's say, solutions, they don't want to hear it. So they got black people, the black women focusing on wrong stuff. Police brutality. Police brutality affects black men more than black women, but actually now cops don't mind knocking out a black woman now. So yeah, I guess you got to care about that now too. And so yeah, they care about power. Liberals, they have a lot of power. They can move into a city and totally change that place because they have the help of the conservative, because the conservative has all the money. And once you figure out the game that like each group is playing a game. The feminists playing the game, the white women who need power, who need to retain their power, but they need numbers. Because when you're talking about strength and relentlessness or like stamina, it's black women. They have a lot of energy. They have a lot of stamina. They have a lot of, they're really loud. They're really emotional. They're action oriented. So on the side, the whites the white women have all the control of what's happening, but the black women are doing all the movements. So they're the ones interrupting speeches and stuff like that, yelling at people, getting all in their face, yelling at you, getting all emotional. They're the foot soldiers, basically the pawns. You got the queens, basically the feminists. And then you have, and see, the pawn is actually more effective than the queen, or say the king. Because the king and queen ain't doing nothing but watching the pawns. Making sure they're doing their job. But what's more effective is distractions. So, that's what I noticed. With atheism, it's a distraction. So all the while the religious and the feminists and the SJWs, they're doing all this stuff. They're doing all this work. You got the people on the side just doing distractions. Religious, man, these people are powerful. They got a lot of power. They're doing a lot of stuff. They're changing stuff. They're going to a city and just change that change. Change the whole dynamic of the country, the dynamic of the city. But then you have the distractors, the Antifa. The Antifa is the distraction. All the while the liberals and the conservatives and the religious, the Muslims, the Africans, they're doing all the action. They're actually changing stuff. The Antifa is just distracting you. Because I saw that G20 thing. Now, when the Antifa was going through the city burning up stuff, did they ever enter the G20 building? Nope.